Mary collapsed. Really? Is she okay? I don't know. The school says she suddenly lost consciousness during swimming class. My daughter Mary had a panic attack during swimming class and was rushed to the hospital. When I got to the hospital, Mary was sleeping peacefully. Seeing her face, I breathed a sigh of relief. Sarah. Is Mary okay? My husband Mike also rushed over after hearing the news. She is okay, and just sleeping right now. Please don't worry. The doctor replied, but his expression was strangely grim. Doctor, please tell me what's wrong. When I urged him firmly, the doctor seemed to make up his mind and asked. How is the relationship like between your daughter and her grandparents? What do you mean by that? I am asking if your daughter and her grandparents have a good relationship. The doctor asked again. I was at a loss for words at the sudden question. Hey. What are you trying to say about my parents? Mike said, his body trembling with anger. I could see the anger rising in him by the vein throbbing on his temple. What's wrong, honey? I was surprised by my usually calm husband's reaction. Let me explain then. And the shocking truth that doctor shared made me realize my helplessness as a mother. My name is Sarah, a 42-year-old office worker. I currently live with my husband, who is also an office worker, our daughter, who's attending elementary school, and my in-laws. Originally, we don't live with my in-laws. However, my job, while high-paying, often requires late nights during busy seasons. My husband Mike, being in a managerial position, also tends to prioritize work. Raised by very education-oriented parents, Mike was always driven, even in his company, constantly aiming higher as if something was always chasing him. Even after coming home, he would continue working, bringing his tasks home with him. Because of this, both Mike and I often leave our daughter Mary feeling lonely. It's great that we have good salaries, but Mary is going to feel so lonely like this. I said with a sigh. So, Mike made a suggestion. If you're okay with it, Sarah, why don't we move in with my parents? They've actually been asking us to do that for a while. My father-in-law, John, has been an outstanding employee at a major trading company for many years. My mother-in-law, Emily, used to be an educator who taught at a prestigious middle school before giving birth to Mike. However, John had to retire early a few years ago due to his worsening chronic illness. Emily had supported the family as a full-time homemaker after leaving teaching, but she started working part-time after John's retirement. We also share a fixed amount of money for my in-laws every month. I've also been thinking about renovating my parents' house to make it a two-family home. I think it's a perfect opportunity. Yes, I think it's better for Mary to live in a house with a yard than in our current apartment. Mary's school will be better surrounded by nature than in the city. Every night after Mary goes to bed, we continued discussing this and then shared the info to my mother-in-law over the phone. That's the situation. Is that okay with you? We would be more than happy to have you. In fact, we were hoping you would. I'm glad to hear you say that, Mom. It makes me feel better. And so, our plans of moving in with my in-laws proceeded smoothly. We renovated their house, making the first floor their living space and the second floor ours. Basically, we don't intrude into each other's spaces, but we didn't install locked doors so we can help each other if needed. Even if my husband and I come home late from work, Mary can have dinner with her grandparents on the first floor, so she won't feel lonely anymore. Still, every morning when I leave for work, I can't help but feel guilty towards my in-laws. Mom, I'm sorry for always having you take care of Mary. While Mike and I were working, his parents always helped Mary with her studies. It's no trouble at all. That's right, Sarah. Mary is our beloved granddaughter too. Don't worry about it. John laughed heartily as he said that. Mary, listen to your grandparents and be a good girl. Okay, I will. Mom, Dad, please take care of Mary. Having my in-laws as reliable help, I was able to focus on my work more than ever. 3 months after we started living together. One day, I finished work early and got home earlier than usual to find Mary clinging to me, crying. What's wrong, Mary? Why are you crying? Mary clung to me and wouldn't lift her face. Emily came after Mary. Mary, it looks like you were really happy to see your mom. Emily tried to pat Mary's head. Mary shook her head vigorously, showing her reluctance. Emily smiled a little sadly. Mary, that's not right. Grandma always helps you with your studies. It's not fair to treat her like that. She must be at that age where she wants to spend more time to her parents. Isn't that right, Mary? I'm sorry, Mom. It's okay, I'm not bothered by it. Emily continued to smile gently. Mary was working hard on her studies just a while ago. She's such a good girl. When Emily tried to pat Mary's head, Mary shook her head vigorously again in protest. Mary. Mommy's going to get mad. Apologize to Grandma. When I scolded her, Mary reluctantly turned to Emily and said, I'm sorry, Grandma. She apologized in a trembling voice. Since Mary usually seemed very attached to my in-laws, I thought she was just upset about having to study when she wanted to play and didn't think much of it at the time. I'm the one who should apologize, Mary. I'm sorry. I thought I saw tears in her grandma's eyes as she said this, but when she noticed I was looking, she quickly said, I think something got in my eye. And smiled to cover it up. As time went by, I noticed that not only Emily but also Mary seemed off. Even before living with my in-laws, Mary often played alone, but she had never clung to me crying like that. Yet, she showed such an attitude to her kind grandmother who always adored her. Mary must be struggling with something that we adults don't understand. Right before bed, I talked to Mike about it. If I cut back on work, I could spend more time with Mary and she wouldn't feel so lonely. Why are you bringing this up now? We've discussed this many times. Mom and Dad are watching her, so there's nothing to worry about. That's true, but even though your parents are great, they can't replace her mother. Are you saying my parents aren't reliable? Mike frowned and glared at me. Whenever Mike doesn't like something, he often shows that expression. That's not what I meant. It's just. Anyway, just leave Mary to my parents. Saying that, Mike turned his back and went to sleep, as if to avoid the conversation. Winter came, and my busy work schedule finally entered a slow period. I'll do the dishes, Mom. You can take a rest. Oh, are you sure? Aren't you tired from work? It's relatively calm now, so I can do the laundry and cleaning on my days off. Is that so? Then I'll take you up on that and watch some TV. I decided to focus on housework as if to make up for all the times I couldn't help before. Mike seemed to be as busy as ever with work. You're working hard, Sarah. Let me take care of Mary's bath. Are you sure? Aren't you tired? I thought Mike was being considerate of me as I bustled around the house. Leave it to me. Parent-child communication is important, right? Saying that, Mike puffed out his chest. Mary, take a bath with Daddy first. When I called out, Mary was led by Mike to the bathroom. Imagining the heartwarming sight of father and daughter, I couldn't help but smile. However, seeing Mary come out of the bath, I was astonished. Mary, your face looks kind of red, doesn't it? Mary's face looked unusually flushed. Mary looked up at Mike and kept silent, not answering. What's wrong, Mary? Why are you quiet? She must have stayed in the bath too long and got dizzy. She's probably a bit out of it. Mike answered for her. Are you really okay? I asked repeatedly, feeling uneasy, but each time, Mary glanced at Mike and said, Yes, I'm fine. Nodding each time. From that day on, no matter how busy he was with work, Mike started bathing with Mary every day. However, each time, Mary's face was flushed after her bath. Could she be sick? Maybe we should take her to the doctor. Don't be ridiculous. Mary, you're okay, right? Nothing hurts, does it? Yes, I'm fine. Sarah, you're worrying too much. Mike just laughed off my concerns for our daughter. At that time, I still hadn't realized Mary's suffering. Time passed, and the following summer arrived. Swimming classes started at Mary's elementary school. She loved playing in the water since she was little, and even as an elementary school student, she always looked forward to her swimming classes every year. That's great. Starting today, it's your favorite swimming class, Mary.
Yeah,
That's right. It's been a year since you last swam. Do you remember how to swim?
yeah,
Probably. For some reason, Mary looked gloomy since the morning. Mary, who had been eagerly waiting for summer, didn't smile even once that morning. I thought she might be a little nervous about the pool after a long time, but from her expression, it seemed more like she was afraid of something. Mary, are you okay? I'm okay, Mom. Don't worry about me. Mary said that, forcing an awkward smile. Are you sure you're okay? If you don't feel well, I can call the school and let you stay home. I'm fine, Mom. You can go to work. All right then, Mary. Mommy's going to work now. Have a good day. Mary smiled as she saw me off. That smile still seemed awkward somehow. She'll be fine. My in-laws are there if anything happens. Telling myself this, I focused on my work. It was after my lunch break when I returned to the office. Miss Sarah Smith, there's an emergency. The school called and said your daughter had a panic attack and was taken to the hospital. My colleague told me in a panic. What? Mary. Go quickly. I was so shocked that I couldn't move for a moment, but my boss urged me, and I hailed a taxi and rushed to the hospital. While on the way, I contacted Mike. Mary collapsed. Really? Is she okay? I don't know. The school says she suddenly lost consciousness during swimming class. What is the school doing? If anything happens to her, they will be held responsible later. This is not the time to say that. Anyway, I'm on my way to the hospital where Mary was taken. Got it. I'm heading there now too. Even my usually work-focused husband seemed genuinely panicked this time. When I rushed to the hospital, Mary was sleeping peacefully in the bed. Seeing her sleeping face, I breathed a sigh of relief. Mary. The tension that had been building up broke, and I too almost collapsed. Oh, hold on. The doctor beside me supported me, and I barely managed to stay on my feet. Sarah, how's Mary? Honey, Mary is. I tried to answer, but my tongue was tied, and I couldn't speak properly. She is okay, and just sleeping right now. Please don't worry. The doctor replied calmly. Doctor, thank you so much. I said, tears of joy streaming down my face as I sincerely thanked the doctor. However, the doctor didn't smile, instead, he had a dark and gloomy expression. Doctor? Is something wrong? Well, actually. The doctor seemed to hesitate about whether to answer. Please, tell me the truth. I was suddenly gripped by the fear that Mary might have been diagnosed with a serious illness. Well, what is your daughter's relationship like with her grandparents? The doctor carefully chose his words as he asked. What do you mean by that? I couldn't immediately grasp the meaning of his roundabout question. I'm asking if your daughter and her grandparents get along well. They get along well. But why are you asking that? I understood the question, but I didn't know why the doctor wanted to know that. A nameless fear arose within me, what could be between Mary and my in-laws? As I stood there, unable to respond, Mike, who was behind me, said. Hey, what are you trying to say? He said, his body trembling. I could see the anger rising in him by the vein throbbing on his temples. What's wrong, honey? I felt something unusual seeing Mike, who rarely showed his emotions, act this way. Stop insulting my parents. I'm not trying to insult them. I just want to confirm some facts. Mike, furious, tried to grab the doctor, but the doctor remained calm and tried to soothe him. My parents love Mary. Stop making strange accusations. If you insult my parents any further, I'll sue you. Calm down, honey. How can I stay calm? He's insulting my parents. Doctor, what was the purpose of your earlier question? The doctor sighed deeply, looking troubled. Let me explain. The doctor then explained the situation in detail when Mary was brought to the hospital. He said that when Mary was about to get into the pool during her swimming class, she suddenly had a panic attack and was taken by ambulance. Up to that point, I knew from the school's explanation. But the problem came afterward. When Mary arrived at the hospital, she was struggling to say something despite her labored breathing. While attending to her, the doctor leaned in to hear her say, "I'm sorry, Grandma." "I'm sorry, Grandpa," repeatedly, as if she was delirious. For her to repeatedly apologize to her grandparents even in such a distressing situation, there must have been some significant experience. What exactly happened between your daughter and her grandparents? Being asked such a question out of the blue was a complete shock to me as well. Doctor, I don't understand what you're trying to imply. I asked, but my gaze was not directed at the doctor, it was fixed on my husband, who seemed even less composed than I was. Why are you looking at me like that? You know something, don't you? Seeing Mike's strange behavior, I was sure he was hiding something. I don't know anything. This doctor is talking nonsense. My parents would never do anything horrible to Mary. One moment Mike was angry, and now he suddenly started laughing strangely. As if trying to hide something from me, as if to cover something up. It's not nonsense. I'm just stating the facts. Also, I never said your parents were doing anything horrible to your daughter. All right, let me be clear. I believe there's a possibility that the grandparents were regularly causing her distress. That's why I contacted Child Protective Services earlier. Don't do anything without our consent. It is my duty as a doctor to report any suspicions to the relevant authorities immediately. The doctor countered firmly. The argument between the adults must have been loud because Mary woke up. Mom? Mary, you're awake. Thank goodness. I rushed to Mary and hugged her tightly as she sat up. It's all right for you to go home today. The doctor said, but Mike responded. Of course. We can't leave her with this quack doctor. We're going home, Mary. He grabbed our daughter's hand and tried to force her out of the hospital bed to walk. Don't touch her. Before I could think, I had pulled Mike's hand away from Mary's, who was resisting. The tension between Mike and me was palpable, but I was more worried about Mary's state of mind. Even in the taxi ride home, Mike kept saying, "That doctor is just lying to make my parents look bad." Complaining about the doctor. I couldn't take Mike's words seriously and just stayed silent. What? Are you doubting my parents too? It's not that, but Mary, Grandma and Grandpa haven't done anything bad to you, right? No, they haven't. See? Mary says nothing bad has happened to her. That doctor was just talking nonsense. It was clear to me that Mary wasn't answering of her own will but was being forced to by Mike's intimidating attitude. Seeing the frightened look on Mary's face, I began to imagine what might have happened between her and my in-laws. Mary must have experienced something so terrifying that she couldn't even tell me about it. Something serious enough for the doctor to contact Child Protective Services. However, even if I confronted them directly, they would just deny it. There was no evidence that they were harassing Mary. Hey, are you listening? Mike's yelling brought me back to reality. I'm sorry. Did you say something? Don't make me repeat myself. If the Child Protective Services people come, don't let them in. Why? If we have nothing to hide, it's okay to let them in. Let them see for themselves that there's nothing wrong. Knowing it was futile, I still argued back. What if weird rumors start in the neighborhood? It will affect my career. Think before you speak. Mike had always followed a straight path from childhood to adulthood, never experiencing failure. Mike, with his pride, must be terrified of having a bad image above all else. Is that pride something more important to protect than our daughter Mary? While thinking about all this, my eyes fell on the taxi's onboard camera. That's right, there's that. I remembered a certain fact that I had forgotten to tell my in-laws and Mike. The next day, I pretended everything was normal with my in-laws and Mike, and I submitted a leave request at work. I spent some time at a friend's house and then waited in front of Mary's school for her to finish. Mary. Over here. When Mary saw me, she looked surprised but also somewhat relieved. Mom, what's going on? I'll explain later. We're going to get on a plane together now. Then we took a bus to the airport and flew to my hometown where my parents live. From that night until dawn, Mike kept calling frequently. Feeling annoyed, I finally decided to answer the call after the repeated ringing. What's going on? Where did you take Mary? Somewhere safe, where you can't reach her. What? Don't mess with me. Just come back and explain yourself. I don't intend to come back. A phone explanation will suffice. Then at least bring Mary back. Bring my daughter back to us. Mike was yelling over the phone. I calmly responded, I refuse. Why? What do you think we did? If you don't remember, let me remind you. It's because you and your parents have been doing things that give stress to Mary every day. The anger I had been suppressing inside me suddenly exploded. I explained to Mike step by step what had led up to this. On the way back from the hospital, I saw the taxi's onboard camera and remembered that we had also installed a camera in the first-floor living room. That camera was installed to monitor my elderly in-laws and Mary, and it had a feature that would immediately notify my phone if anything unusual happened. The first floor was the in-laws' living space, and Mary could freely go in and out while Mike and I were at work. Soon after, the dual-family living arrangement began at our house. Emily, my mother-in-law, started forcing Mary to wash dishes and do cleaning. At first, I thought it was her way of teaching her granddaughter household chores, but she never gave any guidance herself and just watched Mary with John. Mary did the chores as she was told without a single complaint. However, as Mary was about to return upstairs after finishing the chores, her grandma called her back. Next, clean the bathroom, please. She ordered in a strangely sad voice. But I have homework. I'm sorry, but you have to do as you're told. Kids who can't do that can't stay in this house. So please, do as you're told. It's for your own good. Saying this, Emily grabbed Mary's wrist and tried to force her outside. Please, just do as you're told, Mary. The monitoring camera, although picking up some static, clearly captured Emily's voice. She sounded with a heavy heart even as she gave orders. Grandpa, help me. When Mary cried for help, John did not reprimand or calm Emily, he just quietly watched. I was speechless at the unbelievable reality unfolding in the footage. The harassment from my in-laws towards Mary seemed to continue almost every day when I wasn't home. I couldn't believe that they were doing such things behind my back. I didn't mention the surveillance camera but only told Mike about the harassment Mary faced from his parents. Misunderstanding something, Mike said. Mary. Even after all that discipline, she talked. Was it not enough? He lashed out angrily. So, you were the root of all this, weren't you? What? I mentioned your mom and the others, but I never said you were involved. You baited me? That's awful. Doing that to an elementary school girl, who's the awful one here? I remembered the days when Mike used to bathe Mary. I know what you were doing to Mary in the bath. I didn't have proof, but I took a shot in the dark. It was education. She didn't want to study anymore and was satisfied with just getting 90% on her tests, so I thought I'd re-educate her a bit. Re-educate? How can you say that? Mary is terrified. I just told her not to leave the bath until she answered my questions correctly. Mike revealed himself. You were furious when the doctor asked about Mary and your parents at the hospital. But it wasn't because you were defending your mother. You were scared they'd find out you were forcing your parents to do things to Mary that gave her a lot of stress. That's why you refused the involvement of Child Protective Services. The surveillance camera footage clearly recorded Mike threatening his parents. His parents weren't harassing Mary out of their own will. Mary's face was always red after getting out of the bath because Mike kept her in there for long periods. The traumatic bath experiences made Mary extremely afraid of water. On the day of the swimming lesson at school, just trying to enter the pool triggered her traumatic memories, causing her to have a panic attack. Because of you, she can't even enjoy the pool she loved. So what? You don't know how I feel. I don't want to know. My dad was a well-known businessman, and my mom was a respected educator. Compared to them, whenever my grades dropped even a little, everyone would bring up my parents and ridicule me. I don't want Mary to feel that misery. So I was strict with her to prevent her from feeling the same way. That's what education is about. Saying that, Mike laughed in a creepy voice. When my dad had to retire due to his illness and they asked me for financial help, I secretly rejoiced. The tables had turned. I provided the financial support, but in return, they had to be strict with Mary. That was the condition for living together. Knowing Mike's twisted true intentions sent chills down my spine. I recorded this call. And that's not all. The surveillance camera has recorded you threatening your parents. With this evidence, I will protect our daughter. You're done. Wait. Let's talk this out. Mike was panicking at the last moment, but I had nothing more to say and ended the call, blocking his number. I took the surveillance camera footage, the call recording, and the diagnosis from the hospital to the police and Child Protective Services. This is terrible. The video and audio evidence are clear. The officer who handled Mary's case promised to take immediate action. Later, I was even more shocked by what Mary revealed to me. When I asked Mary why she didn't come to me sooner, she answered through her tears. Because Dad said if I didn't behave, he'd make you, busy with work, suffer the same way. I didn't want you to go through that, Mom. Mary had been threatened by her own father, Mike, all this time. And to protect me, she had kept her fears and anxieties inside her little heart. Even though she was the one suffering the most, she was trying to protect me, her mother. I couldn't even notice my daughter's suffering. What kind of mother am I? Cursing my own helplessness, I held my crying daughter tightly. I'm sorry, Mary. It's my fault. It's not your fault, Mom. You saved me. Hearing the warmth in her voice, I couldn't stop my own tears. Of course, I'm always on your side, Mary. No matter what, I'll never leave you alone. I love you so much, and I'll always protect you. I vowed to myself that I would never let her feel alone again. In the end, the doctor's report and the recorded phone call were crucial, and Mike was arrested for assault, but there were extenuating circumstances for his parents. Sometime later, my in-laws, looking haggard, visited us at my parents' house. We're so sorry, Joan, Mary. We know it's too late for apologies, but we're truly sorry. We knew it was wrong, but we just couldn't refuse Mike's demands. We're terrible grandparents. Please, we know the truth. The footage shows that you were forced by Mike to do those things to Mary. Honestly, I did have feelings of wanting to blame them. But blaming them wouldn't change anything. Understanding my feelings, John tried his best to kneel to apologize. Despite the pain in his legs from a chronic illness, he bent over, grimacing, and tried his best to kneel. Even if we were threatened, the fact that we did terrible things to our dear granddaughter doesn't change. We're not expecting forgiveness. We just wanted to apologize to you, Sarah, Joan, and Mary. Though maybe we just want to ease our own guilt. Mary ran up and gently hugged John and Emily. Grandpa, Grandma. I'm not mad. Thank you for teaching me. Hearing Mary's words, both of them broke down in tears and couldn't look Mary in the eye. It was as if they felt unworthy to face their granddaughter. Mary told them, "You can come visit anytime," but after that, they never came to see us again. 5 years have passed since then, and Mary is now in middle school. Now, Mary and I live with my parents, who watch over us. I explained the situation to my company, and they switched me to remote work. Even though the local police will handle it if Mike shows up, I still can't shake the anxiety. I started attending security seminars and bought safety equipment to reinforce our home's security. I'm meticulous about picking up and dropping off Mary at school. Mary has slowly started to regain her smile. Lately, she seems to enjoy helping my father with his gardening hobby since he retired. "Grandpa, look at this huge potato I found." "Oh wow, that's a big one." "Mary, why don't you make curry with Mom tonight?" "Okay, I will." My parents seem to have rejuvenated both in spirit and appearance since they started living with Mary. Just as Mary tried to protect me, I want to do everything I can to protect her from now on. I thought this as I watched Mary's carefree smile.